You don't need to touch anyone to destroy them. You don't need to raise your voice, nor plan revenge, nor collect evidence, nor write letters, nor post subtle digs. You just need to not look anymore. You just need to move on without explanation, disappear as if that person had never existed, silence like someone burying, not a body, but a presence that no longer deserves to exist in you. Seneca said, "Don't lower yourself to win, rise up to silence." And silence, it is not absence. It is a sentence. You have been broken by someone you trusted and became a joke. You opened your soul, son, and were ridiculed. You gave your best and were discarded as if it were nothing. And after that, you wanted to get revenge. You wanted to be noticed. You wanted them to see what they did to you. You wanted them to come back repentant. You wanted time to turn and the pain to change sides. But it didn't come back. It didn't turn. It didn't change. And that's where the fury is born. That silent fury, which burns the chest and explodes in the throat, but dies in the shame of still caring about who destroyed you. You wake up and remember the name. You walk down the street and smell the scent. You see any photo and relive the abandonment. A look, a place, a sound. Everything still throbs with the presence of who hurt you. And deep down, you want to show that you weren't weak. You want to show that you survived. You want them to see that they didn't win. But that will also enslaves you, because wanting to be seen is a sign that they still possess you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The greatest power lies in not needing to prove anything anymore." But you still want to prove. You still want to be remembered. And that's exactly what keeps you trapped. You move, but you still carry the gaze of who broke you on your back. You want justice. But all justice that is born from the ego is just a disguised request for revenge. You don't want justice. You want impact. You want them to feel. You want them to understand. You want them to hurt like you hurt. And that's why this video exists. Because Stoicism didn't come to teach you to pretend you don't feel. It came to teach you to transform pain into dominion. It came to show you that the cruelest punishment is the indifference of who survived without needing to scream. You want them to feel? Then get ready. Because what you are about to learn will not only silence who hurt you, it will reduce them to dust without you needing to say a word. You believe that you need to react to show strength, that silence is passivity, that not responding is a sign of weakness. But this belief was installed in you by the fear of disappearing. You are afraid of being forgotten, that the other will leave and not feel anything, that the pain that sank you didn't even scratch who caused it. So you insist. You insist on showing. You insist on explaining. You insist on exposing everything you felt, as if explained pain gained weight. But the truth, explaining the pain is asking for recognition from who has already dehumanized you. And the more you try to show that you are okay, the more you reveal that you are still trapped. Epictetus said, "The more we seek approval, the more we surrender our freedom." And you surrendered. You surrendered when you wanted to prove that it wasn't hurting. You surrendered when you answered a message just to show coldness. You surrendered when you got dressed up, posted, and waited to be seen. Yes, you didn't want to be free. You wanted to be noticed. But the real impact is not in being seen. It is in being felt in the absence that doesn't scream, in the absence that doesn't justify itself, in the absence that destroys by not imploring. You want to know how to become this type of man? Then first understand the psychology of who hurt you. Who hurts, wants reaction, wants scandal, response, chaos, wants to feel that they had some effect, that they marked, that they shook, that they dominated. And when you explode, complain, or implore, you say, "You still have power over me." That's what they want. Not love, but dominion. And the only real antidote against this dominion is Stoic indifference. The indifference that is not inhumanity, but emotional discipline. The indifference that doesn't seek to hurt, but to liberate. The indifference that silences, so that the other screams alone. Visualize the scene. You are in front of the cell phone. Your hand trembles, your chest tightens. You typed a response and didn't send it. You heard the provocation and didn't react. You saw the attempt to guilt and didn't fall for it. The other waits. waits for your pain, your anger, your loss of control, but receives nothing. And it is in this nothing that the punishment begins, because who lives to manipulate emotions despairs when they don't find a reaction. They attack to extract noise, and when they find the void, they fall into their own echo. Seneca wrote, "There is no more perfect revenge than to move on in peace." And peace is an invisible weapon. You don't need to prove that you overcame. You just need to walk like someone who owes nothing anymore, like someone who cleansed their souls and moved on. But there is a sneaky poison that prevents you from getting there: the desire for justice, the will to show that you were right, the hope that one day the other will recognize the error. This poison tastes like morality, but it's just disguised attachment, because while you wait to be valued, you are still attached to the validation of who hurt you. While you desire the repentance of others, you still live under the narrative of the other. And there is the truth that hurts. You don't need an apology. You need detachment. You don't need external redemption. You need internal discipline. Marcus Aurelius warned, "The soul is invincible when it does not let itself be affected by what is outside. And what hurts you is outside. It is in the look that betrayed you, in the voice that humiliated you, in the absence that mocked." But this only remains alive because you still water the memory with expectation. The strong man does not wait for recognition. He recognizes himself, and that's why, when he leaves, he doesn't come back. When he silences, he doesn't give signs. When he withdraws, he makes absence a tombstone. It is this firm presence in absence that reduces any manipulator to dust. Because the manipulator does not fear hatred. He fears being erased, fears being irrelevant, fears looking back and seeing that he left no shadow. And you can only do this when you shut up, walk, and never look back. Absence is the mirror that returns to the other what he did, but without you needing to say anything. And this is true Stoicism. Not the one that preaches artificial coldness, but the one that transforms wound into powerful silence, anger into dominion, revenge into presence. You were not made to implore for justice. You were made to represent dignity, even in the face of humiliation. You want to impact who hurt you? Then don't knock on the door, don't turn on the alert, don't provoke, disappear. And when they finally notice your absence, it will be too late. Imagine the following scene. You are sitting on the sofa, low light, cell phone in hand, heart racing. It's been hours since you received any messages. The notification doesn't arrive. Her name doesn't appear. The last scene remains static, ignoring you like a social corpse. You leave the app. You come back, you leave again, you open Instagram. She posted a story. She is smiling, she is with friends, she is living. Without you. And even knowing that it is a false showcase, your stomach churns, your throat closes. You feel anger, you feel contempt, you feel shame. But above all, that you miss someone who erased you. Modern betrayal no longer comes with screams. It comes with digital silence, with strategic disappearances, with dry answers and public stories of private happiness. And you, itchy broken man, still hope to be remembered. As if who erased you would, at some point, come back and say, "I was wrong. You were everything." But she doesn't come back, because what destroyed you never intended to repair. They used you while it served. They discarded you when they got tired. And now each attempt of yours to make yourself present only sinks you further into the abyss of humiliation. You react. You send a message. You try to talk. You write subtle digs. You post a photo with a calculated caption. But all this is desperation disguised as strategy. You don't want to win back. You want to prove that it is impossible to forget you. But if it were really impossible, you wouldn't need to prove it. This is where the pain turns into prison, because you are no longer being hurt by the other. You are hurting yourself, trying to cause impact. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can provoke me, it is because I am still a slave." And you are. Slave of a need, to be noticed by who ignored you. Meanwhile, she lives, and you wage a war against a ghost that doesn't even hear you anymore. It is at this point that many men collapse and confuse revenge with strength. They want to show success to who despised. They want to expose scars as trophies. They want the world to see how unfair they were. But success that needs to be shown is not success. It is a cry for help. The pain doesn't disappear when you try to throw it in the face of who caused it. It only turns into addiction. You start to live to cause impact. Each victory turns into a subtle dig. Each conquest turns into a camouflaged provocation. Each smile a poster of, "See how well I am." But you are not. You are just building a facade to hurt who has already destroyed you. And this is as pathetic as the original humiliation. Epictetus warned, "It is easier to govern an empire than to dominate a soul inflamed by the desire for recognition." You don't need to be noticed, you need to be free. And freedom begins when you stop wanting to cause impact and start to cause silence. Because silence, when it comes with elegance and complete absence, is a dagger without noise. They expect your scream, your answer, your scandal. But you don't scream, you don't talk, you don't post, you just disappear. And in this disappearance, they go to hell. Because who hurt you one day will ask themselves, "Did he never think about me again? Did he not suffer? Did he not hate me?" And the answer that you will never give will be the sentence. You didn't suffer? You suffered, yes. But you knew how to shut up. You knew how to rebuild yourself without an audience. You knew how to make pain a private territory. And that's why they don't reach you anymore. But this is only possible if you stop living for the other. Stop justifying posts. Stop answering provocations. Stop feeding the illusion that time will do emotional justice. Time doesn't do justice. Time only reveals what each one did with their own pain. You can use yours as a lever or as a chain. Weak men want to cause jealousy, strong men want to cause absence, and stoic men don't want anything anymore. They just live with dignity. You think that disappearing is being cowardly? Then ask yourself, who has more strength? The one who implores for recognition, or the one who leaves with peace in their eyes? Mental scene. You walk down an old street. The steps echo on the concrete. You cross with someone who destroyed you and doesn't change the compass, doesn't accelerate, doesn't deviate, doesn't greet. The person tries to look into your eyes, but you continue as if you didn't see, not out of coldness, but because that no longer exists in you. It is this type of absence that transforms manipulators into dust. It is this indifferent elegance that corrodes them from within. You want to impact who hurt you, then disappear with dignity, grow without fanfare, smile without an audience, and make your absence their nightmare. You want revenge? Then become what destroys you in silence. But don't confuse this with coldness. Coldness is defense. Stoic indifference is choice. Conscious choice not to let the other define your internal state. Seneca wrote, "The greatest proof of power is not in defeating an enemy, but in no longer being their slave." And you are still a slave. Every time you wake up thinking about her. Every day you open Instagram waiting for a sign. Every hour you rehearse an answer that will never be read. Every night you imagine a conversation that will never happen. You don't want justice, you want control. You want her to feel. You want her to see. You want her to realize the damage she caused. But the truth is brutal. Who hurt you doesn't care. And the more you move to show something, the more you reveal that you are still trapped. Epictetus said, "If you want the other to understand your pain, it is because you still haven't understood your own value." The pain that needs to be recognized still commands you. The absence that needs to be noticed still imprisons you. You want freedom? Then accept what is unacceptable. She won't come back. She won't apologize. She won't recognize you as a worthy man. And even so, you will get up. Because absence is not about her. It's about you, about the type of man you decide to be. A man who doesn't need to prove strength, because he has already forgiven himself for the weakness. A man who doesn't seek impact, because he has already caused transformation in himself. Want direct lessons? Then listen to this as who listens to orders before the war. 1. You don't answer who diminished you. There is no honor in fighting with who plays dirty. Silence is your crown. Indifference is your throne. 2. You don't observe who betrayed you. Don't follow, don't spy, don't react. Every time you look, you come back. And every emotional return is a relapse. 3. You don't mention who erased you. Don't tell sad stories. Don't use your pain as a currency of empathy. Who suffers in public asks for pity. Who shuts up in silence commands respect. 4. You grow silently. Each new victory of yours needs to be without address. You don't win to show, you win to redeem yourself. 5. You disappear. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with the peace of who understood. The other doesn't belong to me. My mind does. These are the Stoic codes of who doesn't lower themselves, of who builds internal power, of who makes contempt a silent art of dominion. You are not a weak man because you felt. You are human, but you remain weak if you still feel the need to cause impact. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." You want to be different? Then don't bite. Don't talk. Don't come back. Assume the vow of silence, not as a coward, but as a warrior who understands that fighting against a fool is wasting sacred energy. You have already given yourself too much. You have already waited too much. You have already humiliated yourself too much. Now it's time for reconstruction. And this reconstruction begins with a sentence. I don't need to be seen to know who I am. This is the true power, the power that doesn't need a stage, the power that doesn't need an enemy, the power that doesn't need a reaction. When you embody this power, you become absence, not weak absence. Absence that weighs, absence that doesn't explain, absence that doesn't answer, absence that doesn't bend. The manipulator wants drama. You deliver silence, he wants a scene. You deliver disappearance, he wants a goodbye. You offer nothing, and nothing, when well applied, becomes torture. Absence doesn't hurt on the first day. It ferments, corrodes with time, worsens with continuous silence, devours the ego of who expected return. You want to make who hurt you feel small? Then don't diminish your dignity to reach. Rise up to disappear. The soul of the manipulator feeds on response. If you shut up, you kill the source. But this requires something that few have: absolute self-control. That's why Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not over external events." The woman left. The friend betrayed. The humiliation was public. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you are going to do with this. And if your answer is to seek recognition, applause, return, or justice, you remain a prisoner. But if your answer is silence, growth, and detachment, then you have freed yourself. You will not be remembered as the man who screamed. You will be remembered as the one who turned his face, the one who didn't return, the one who didn't cry in public, the one who erected an empire in the desert of abandonment. This is the Stoic path, not to impress, but to save yourself. And if one day she comes back, there will be no more place, because you will no longer be there, not physically, not emotionally, not symbolically. You will have already died in that version, and reborn in absence. There is nothing more painful for who hurt you than to realize that you are simply no longer available. Not emotionally, not energetically, not symbolically. You stopped reacting, stopped looking for, stopped imploring for justice, stopped needing to be understood. And this silence is not absence of response. It is the most powerful response that exists. Epictetus warned, "Freedom begins the moment you stop caring about what doesn't depend on you." And you didn't realize, but your freedom began at the exact moment when you stopped wanting to impact. Because while your mind still revolved around the pain, you were orbited by who hurt you. You thought you were free, but you lived a slave to a reaction that would never come. Now, no more. Now you know, the true victory is not to be noticed. It is to be forgotten by who never deserved to remember you. And even more, it is you forgetting too, not with anger, but with stoic indifference. You will not be remembered for catchy phrases. You will be remembered for your unanswerable absence, for the silence that destroyed egos, for the disappearance that turned into poison. You stopped being a victim, stopped being the poor thing that was hurt, and assumed the position of the man who made pain, an armor. And if today she thinks about you, she thinks about everything she didn't have the courage to face, the serenity that she couldn't destroy, the dignity that she couldn't erase, the silence that reflected her to the collapse. Seneca said, "Nothing humiliates more than being ignored by who expected your fall." And now you understand. It's not about winning. It's about not needing to compete anymore. She wanted to see chaos. You offered peace. She wanted blood. You offered silence. She wanted screams. You left mute. And this is the punishment. This is the revenge. This is the justice that is not proclaimed but imposed. You walk, and each step is an insult to those who expected your stagnation. You grow, and each conquest is a broken mirror for who expected to see you on the ground. You silence, and each second without response is a deafening scream in the soul of who expected chaos. Absence is not weakness. It is dominion. It is renunciation of what doesn't serve you. It is rebirth of what had been buried in the name of a love that didn't know how to take care of you. And now, there is no more return. There is no more last chance. There is no more pending conversation. Everything that had to be said was sealed in silence. You became the consequence, the reminder, the weight, the shadow, not for revenge, but because you grew and decided not to bend anymore. Carl Jung said, "Until you become conscious, the unconscious will direct your life, and you will call it destiny." Today, you have become conscious. Conscious of the value you have, conscious of who should be worthy of your energy, conscious that there is no peace and where there is still a need to be noticed. You are the man who left, the one who didn't scream, the one who didn't implore, the one who died and was reborn in absence. You impacted, but not as she wanted. You hurt, but not as she expected. You got revenge, without doing anything. And this is the greatest victory of all. So, now I ask you, are you willing to never explain yourself again? Are you ready to let the void speak for you? Are you ready to become the absence that no one can ignore? If yes, like if you left in silence, comment if you still feel like coming back, and share with who still bleeds inside trying to prove that they have value. Because time heals the weak, but silence transforms the strong into legend, and what remains of you will be unattainable.